Hi, and thanks for joining me for part 2 of the Gnome Toboggan crochet pattern. Pictured on screen is the two types of hats here. We've got the pointier style and the rounded style. The pointier style has worked all the rounds up through round 4. The rounded style skips round 2. And we're going to pick up right back where we left off at the end of round 4 by starting round 5. So round 5, we're going to start with a chain 2 to start. And throughout this whole pattern, I use chain 2s to substitute for the joining chain. A lot of patterns will use chain 3s to substitute for height for double crochet. I use chain 2 because this is a post stitch and it's a little bit shorter. So the first stitch we're doing is the front post in the same stitch, just like with all the other rounds so far. Back post in the next, back post in the same stitch. Actually, this round starts off with an increase and actually does an increase in every single stitch. So we're going to do a front post and a back post double crochet in the first stitch. We're going to do a front post and a back post double crochet in the next stitch. There we go, we're getting our back post on there. And again, a front post and a back post double crochet in the next stitch. So every stitch of this round is an increase. This is the point of the hat that the hat starts expanding outward really for the head. So the first 4 rounds were to shape the cone or the top part of the hat. And now we're going to start raising our stitch count up with increases so that it expands outward pretty rapidly so that the head begins to actually fit in it. So to get that started, we're going to do increases in every stitch for this round. And that's going to give us a lot more stitches to start working with to increase for the head. And we just keep going here, doing a front post and a back post in every stitch. Really cramming those bulky stitches in there. I'm using my 550 resin hook from Furls. They don't pay me to tell you that. I just really love this hook. I love my Furls hooks because they really do help my hands. And I'm going to speed it up a little bit. So coming to the end of round 5, I've just placed increases in every stitch. I'm going to slip stitch in the last, or in the first double crochet of the round. First double crochet. And there's our little hat started. You can see the shape kind of starting to appear, especially because this is a pointed version that includes round 2. So for the next round, round 6, I'm going to chain 2 to start and front post double crochet in the same stitch, back post double crochet in the next stitch, and we're just going to repeat that all the way around. So front post in the next stitch, back post in the next stitch. We're going to repeat that 23 times, so that's just all the way around the head. There's no increases in this round. And now that we've got no increases, there's also a really nice pattern forming where the front post double crochets end up in the front posts and the back posts end up in the back posts, so you get these defined ribs starting to appear. And we'll finish off our round with a slip stitch as usual. So here's our hat shaping up. You can see those ribs starting. It looks really squishy and nice. The next full 2 rounds, 7 and 8, all you do is repeat round 6. So front post, back post, alternate with no increases. And as you can see, I've already completed those with this sample on the camera. So just pause the video and complete those and join me again for round 9 when you are done. For round 9, we're going to start with our normal chain 2 and front post double crochet in the first stitch. That's the same stitch as the join. We'll back post double crochet in the next stitch. Front post double crochet in the next stitch. And in the next stitch, we're going to work a back post double crochet and a front post double crochet into the same stitch. So I've got my back post started here. Finish that and go into the same stitch. That one right there. To work a front post double crochet. So we've placed an increase. And what we're doing this round is placing an increase every 4th stitch. So to complete that repeat, we're going to back post in the next stitch. Front post in the next stitch. And then back post in the next stitch before our increase. Now this does mean that we don't have those nicely aligned ridges that we were working with, because increases do alternate that. They mess that up for part of the round. Here's our increase, a front post and a back post in the next stitch. But even though when the increases mess up the sequence a little bit, they mess up the ridges, it does still form a pleasing pattern when you have the repeats sort of mathematically laid out like that. So once we've got our increase, we're going to start again with our alternation. So one front post in the next stitch, one back post in the next stitch. Here I'm going to struggle with my back post. There we go. And then front post in the next stitch. And that's our first 3 stitches, and the next is the 4th, so we're going to place our increase. So we're going to work a back post double crochet and a front post double crochet in the same stitch. That's the next stitch. There's got my back post done. Here's my front post. Those are that's my increase, so I'm going to start over again. And I'm going to place my final stitch and slip stitch in the first double crochet of the round to complete round 9. And now that we've got round 9 covered, can see it's coming out really nice and squishy, it's stretchy. I'm going to compare it to my other hat here. I am getting a slightly bigger gauge on this hat because I'm using a different hook. That's fine, it's going to be a nice little hat. And we're going to discuss size options here in just a few rounds. So round 10, we're going to chain 2 to start and front post in the same stitch as our join, just like usual. And we're going to back post in the next stitch. And our repeat for the entire way around is to front post in the next stitch and then back post in the next stitch. So alternate front post and back post all the way around your hat. There are no increases in round 10. And there are also no increases in round 11 or 12, which just repeat round 10. So just like with before, after our last increase, we're doing 3 rows of non-increasing. So that's the start of round 10. It's easy, so I'm not going to videotape the whole thing. Videotape. Ah! Wow. I'm not going to record the whole thing. So anyway, at this point, if your hat is not big enough to stretch over your head, you're going to proceed to round 13, which creates a large size. If your gauge is big enough and your hat is big enough to fit over the intended head at this point, you can skip round 13 and resume the pattern at round 14. But we're going to continue here with round 13, and we're going to start by chaining 2 and front post in the first stitch. Here's our front post in the same stitch. Here I'm just going to show you the hat a little bit slower so you can see where these increase rows are. You can tell kind of visually now that there's ridges where the increases are. So we've increased, and then we have several rows of non-increases, which create these nice lined ribs. And obviously we're going to make this hat bigger with round 13 for the large size, so we're going to do increases again for this round. So we're going to back post in the next stitch. Front post in the next stitch. And back post in the next stitch. And in the next stitch, work 1 front post double crochet and 1 back post double crochet. So that's our increase. And our increase on this round comes every 5th stitch. Always alternating front post and back post double crochet. There's my back post into that same stitch. So now we're ready to start our repeats again. So front post in the next stitch, back post in the next stitch, do that twice. So you'll have 4 stitches, and then in the next stitch work front post and a back post. And that's our increase on the 5th stitch. And we're going to repeat that all the way around. There's our front post and our back post increase, and we'll just start over where those parentheses start over. So front post in the next stitch, back post in the next stitch, and that's once, but we have to do that twice. So front post in the next stitch, back post in the next stitch, and then place our increase in that 5th stitch, so front post and back post. And do that all the way around. And once we've reached the end, we're going to close our round with a slip stitch in the first double crochet of the round. And there's our completed round 13, which adds an extra increase to the hat if you're working a size large. So the next 10 rounds, or as many rounds as you'd like, are just rounds that work front post and back post alternating with no increases. So this is the main part of the hat, and it follows that nice ribbed pattern. It's really textured and squishy and warm, and you can add as many of these final rows as you like. 10 is what is written into the pattern, but the hat that I have is, I think, 15 rows at the end. Because my gauge with that hook was smaller, I had to get a little bit more length on the hat. And it's all for your preference, so you can do however many of those ending rows as you like. This one I think has 12. It's just more rounded, so it's could be a little bit shorter. Anyway, just continue in those non-increasing rows until you have the length of hat that you like, and then once you've completed your last round, you can cut your yarn, tie off, and weave in all your ends, and that is all you need to do for a Gnome Toboggan. I do have a written version of this pattern and lots of photo tutorials and things available on my blog, so check that out. The resources are linked in the description below the video. And as always, thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe.